How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Well, my royal family, you can see that this is a bit of a long video, and I had to do very deep research. And y'all know I'm going to bring it, and y'all know my style. And anybody that's new to the True Royal family, welcome, and you'll understand how this channel operates. And I also have a backup channel called True Royal. You'll see a purple bird there. So anyhow, my royal family, I have some videos that I'm going to present. I have a bonus audio, and I also have a bonus picture. And this one of these videos where you need to go get your shit, but I'm not in no joking form or fashion. Now, what I would like the royal family to do is pay very close attention to language. Pay very close attention to titles. And none of this is surprising to us, how the media, along with this white supremacist system, all of them know the parts to play. Because I have often said, when the enemy gets an opportunity to exercise their isms on us, they are very unforgiving. And we are fair, balanced, and objective people overall. We are completely human. So you got to realize what you are dealing with. Basically a Neanderthal and stuff. And maybe they don't always look like it, but I often talk about the nature of many things, good, bad, or indifferent. So we see here that now a unquote 6th officer is relieved of duty. All right. And here come the true game now, because a lot of our folks have been disgusted by seeing 5 so-called black men be put on the auction block so swiftly and quickly. And what the enemy is demonstrating to the royal family is that they can execute the law quite swiftly, because we know if the faces of was totally different, it would be damn near a year, and and they trying to figure out what to do. But when they dealing with us, they're very swift, they're very methodical. But we are in a war, my royal family, and always in the worst situations, I always try to find something positive or so-called good, or something that I can pick up from the enemy and use against them at the end of the day, because there is utter desperation. We're going to even see more of this because our 400 years is over. And out of all the races on this planet, and they have had, their spiel where they are in the history books, and they ran their empires, and ours were completely destroyed of our disobedience. So who is else left to rise? And the enemy be reading that, they try to suppress, but you cannot stop the nature of Yahweh. When our Father say he gonna do what he gonna do, he keep it to the T. Telling y'all something y'all already know. So I know y'all know, some of y'all know about this, and I'm making a point deliberately, because some people said I'm slow, but I do what I do, to pay attention to this image. So let's get into the first video.
Good more fallout from the death of Tyre Nichols.
A sixth police officer has been relieved of duty following the release of the body cam video and other videos of Nichols' traffic stop and arrest. Peaceful protests took place in cities across the country following the release of the footage. Prosecutors released the video after 5 of the officers were formally charged with civil rights attorney Ben Crump was on CBS Mornings earlier to discuss the precedent that these charges place.
The fact that these 5 black police officers were terminated, arrested, and charged within 20 days from this tragedy is now the blueprint going forward. I mean, you can't tell us anymore that it takes 6 months or it takes a year. The police chief said it was important that the community saw swift action and that they moved swiftly to justice. And so we in our community say when white police officers kill us too, then we want to say it's important to the community also to see swift action and swift justice. This is the blueprint now going forward.
Let's bring in CBS News correspondent Omar Villafranca, who's on the ground for us in Memphis, Tennessee. Omar, welcome. What's the latest at this hour on the investigation?
Well, from what we understand, after that video was released, one of the videos, if you watched it, showed a white police officer shooting the taser. So we asked Memphis police, has any disciplinary action been taken against that officer? And they just confirmed to us that the officer's name, Preston Hemphill, has been relieved of duty. So that's another officer that has been actually taken off of the force right now. And they were telling us this is an ongoing investigation. So as the more video is reviewed, more names could pop out.
And Omar, what's the latest on the possibility of there being more further charges, perhaps for this officer? I mean, one thing is for him not to be working, another one is to face any kind of criminal charges. What's the latest on that?
And that would be the next step, Lilia. They're trying to figure out, of course, once they remove somebody, now they're going to see if charges need to be filed. Because keep in mind, there were 2 Shelby County Sheriff deputies who were also relieved of duty. 2 Memphis Fire Department emergency technicians who were also relieved of duty, who were seen on body camera showing up there. But when we were watching, they weren't really rendering continuous aid at all to Nichols. So that's going to be an interesting thing. And let me kind of butt in here. There's been talk of race. This was 5 police officers that were black, with Nichols, who is also black. And that's been a point of contention. We talked to leaders here in Memphis in the black community who are saying that made this sting more. And let me show you some of the sound that we got with the
He's
local
correct.
It
reverend.
does set in our hearts that it was black on black crime. And from the police, but it doesn't matter what color the police officers are. When you are doing the kinds of things that we saw on those videos to our citizens, it's just wrong. And anyone who does that, anyone who acts in that way, should be held to the extent of the law, especially if they're police officers.
That really stresses
So
something that has been
there from the Reverend.
Part of the conversation, that it's really not, it's about policing. And we'll have a conversation later on with Ibram X. Kendi about the role that, race plays in all of this and about police brutality.
But Omar, it does go to the question of never again and how state legislators, if they can do anything, could prevent something like this from happening again. Are there ideas popping up?
There are, and NAACP leaders in the state and here in Memphis have talked to state legislators, had a press conference yesterday, and they want to have a bill named after Mr. Nichols. But part of the teeth in that bill is, if people, it's not quite stop and render aid. If you're an emergency responder and a situation like this is happening, you don't stop it, you don't report it, you also don't help, then there could be repercussions for you as well. This is something that we saw on the body cam video. We saw Mr. Nichols leaned up against a car, and you had 5+ police officers standing around not doing anything after the beating that they had put on it.
Well, Omar Villafranca, thank you so much for your reporting. And for more on these police practices and police brutality, joining us now is CBS News Chief National Affairs and Justice Correspondent Jeff Pegues. Jeff, it's good to see you. I know the officers involved in the death of Tyre Nichols were part of this unit called Scorpion. What more can you tell us about what the intention was? Why was this formed?
This was a specialized unit that was formed to bring down, or at least help bring down, crime in Memphis. Keep in mind, during the pandemic and as the pandemic restrictions eased, there was this problem of high crime in cities like Memphis and other cities across the country. And what had happened during the pandemic is that the court systems were shutting down or curtailing their work. Police departments weren't operating at full strength. You had a lot of retirements. You had people staying home, people getting sick, a whole combination of things. And as a result, you had crime rising. And so the response from city officials in a lot of big cities, not just Memphis, was to form units that in some cities had been disbanded because of allegations of aggressive police tactics. But in Memphis, they formed this unit. It's called the Scorpion Unit, and its goal is to crack down on especially gun crimes, but also people who tend to commit these gun crimes. In some neighborhoods, in some cities, law enforcement refer to them as trigger pullers. And so you have these specialized units who are trained to go after people like that, the repeat offenders, but also make stops, make arrests. And they were seeing some progress in terms of crime numbers in Memphis, with the numbers coming down. But then you have this issue with the Scorpion Unit, which has now been disbanded because of this one incident.
So, Jeff, what you're describing is a situation where you have a black police chief launching a unit to combat crime that's affecting a lot of black residents, all residents of Memphis, but a predominantly black city. And this is what happens. So you've got now a tragedy, but in addition, you've got the underlying crime problem that they were trying to address still there. So I'm curious, how are residents dealing with what is now kind of a dual problem? You've got the Tyre Nichols outcome, the mourning, the protest, and then you've got the underlying issue of, well, if this didn't work, what will?
That's a good question. I don't know if we can conclude that kind of unit didn't work. Yes, it's been disbanded, and yes, it's under a lot of scrutiny right now because of those officers' actions. But I don't know if there's anyone in law enforcement saying today that kind of unit doesn't work. The issue is how that kind of unit works.
Yeah.
And even the chief of police told me over the weekend that, she raised the issue of there not being enough commanders, not being enough supervisors. And that's something you hear quite often after incidents like this. People talk about the training. People talk about, why wasn't a commander present to get that under control? So I think people, based on what they're seeing in this video, are reacting quickly to what they're seeing, and that's natural. But as law enforcement moves forward, I think there will be this examination, mostly of the tactics used here. I think no matter who you talk to, whether you talk to current police officers or former police officers, that is unusual, what you're seeing there.
Yeah.
Yes,
Deadly.
arrests arrests are tough to watch, but that was, I think, by all definitions, excessive force. The question is, how do you get these units operating properly? Because they are needed in neighborhoods across the country.
Yeah, one thing is for them to do the job that they were formed for, but another thing is, over-policing. It's potentially, terrorizing a community by excessive use of force, and without the death of Tyre Nichols, without these videos, how do we learn about the tactics that are being used?
Yeah.
All right, my royal family. I'm going to take this one down because I don't want any pop-ups. So, there is something, and I've mentioned this a long time ago, that the enemy and the enemy's supporters are asking of us. There's something they're asking of us. I'm going to milk it for what all it's worth and savor it, but I'll get to it. Some of y'all may have remembered. And if you do remember, put it in the comments. Okay. So, very little was said about this white cop. Very little is said. And as I was doing my research, I know his name. And just on my research, I didn't see his name in a unquote title. Again, I'm overemphasizing. Pay attention to language. Pay attention, like I said, to titles. Use all your senses, and then those beautiful gifts that Yahweh has blessed us with. So we know his name. Some Officer Preston Hemphill. So again, I had mentioned the media also is orchestrating things too as well. In fact, yesterday when I Googled the brother's name, and you know how when you're doing a search, sometimes other words will pop up, and the first thing that popped up was his criminal record. He don't have a criminal record because we know from the time it took, like 2 weeks or so to arrest him, they would have pulled up something. I mean, they be trying to find anything. They don't even care if he was in preschool. And he does have ties up here in the Bay Area, Sacramento, which is a little over an hour from me. So there's a lot of local stories that's coming out. How he was a different type of brother. He was a free spirit, and it's just awful that we have to continue to see and feel the enemies. These are the enemy supporters, the utter disdain that they have for the royal family. But none of this is shocking to the royal family. We've been knowing way before you and I was born, when our own would police the neighborhoods, how they get down, because they want to demonstrate to the massa that I'm gonna be a good ass coon. I'm gonna buck dance. I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do to get that pat on the head and that butter biscuit. This is not shocking. But like I said in my life, we are in the age of exposure, and things are going to be exposed even in our communities that we do not like to see. But there's a purge. There's a purge. And in that purge process, when you're purging, poison come up. So it has to all be exposed. The Karens and even the so-called confusion of face, because they are not Hebrews at all. But there's going to be an example made out of them. Now, as we continue on, let's not lose sight of images. 'Cause I'm gonna get there, So I have another video that I'm going to play, and then after that, there's some things I'm going to read to the royal family. And here again, we don't see homeboy in the title anywhere. But this was a really good video. Okay, here we go.
Attorney for one of the now former officers, Desmond Mills, released a statement yesterday saying that He arrived late to the incident and suggested he couldn't see after getting pepper sprayed. Here's the quote: "We are confident that the questions of whether Desmond crossed the lines that others crossed and whether he committed crimes charged will be answered with a resounding no." Are you confident that all of these officers will be convicted of murder?
I believe they all will be convicted of crimes. Whether all of them are going to be convicted with murder, we have to continue to dissect this video. But one thing is for certain, Dana, all of these officers failed their oath. They failed their oath to protect and serve. Look at that video. Was anybody trying to protect and serve Tyre Nichols? And, you know, the fact that they've all been charged and fired immediately and swiftly, the police chief said that the community needed to see swift action. They needed to see swift justice when it was these 5 black police officers caught committing a crime on tape. Well, in our community, we say this is the blueprint going forward. Whether the officers are black or white, we expect to see swift action and swift justice, even if it's a white police officer that abuse us.
What does justice actually mean in this case?
Well, certainly it's about his family having criminal culpability and civil accountability. But as his mother says so passionately, she believes Tyre was sent on an assignment from God, and that's what she has to believe to try to cope with this tragedy. And shame on us if we don't use his tragic death to finally get the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act passed. We told President Biden that when he talked to us because, you know, he should marshal the United States Senate with Senator Booker, Senator Schumer, and they should try to get the House to re-engage. If not, Dana, we're going to continue to see hashtag.
So justice in this case, what you were saying is systemic, real change. Can you legislate change in the culture of police departments? Can that be done in Washington?
You know, what Dr. King said, you know, I can't stop a man from hating me, but the law can stop a man from killing me and make sure they have consequences. And so they can do something, Dana Bash. They gotta try. We haven't had federal police reform since President Lyndon Baines Johnson, Great Society. It didn't happen with Rodney King, it didn't happen with Michael Brown and Ferguson, and it didn't happen with George Floyd. How many of these tragedies do we have to see on video before we say we have a problem, America?
Let me take that down. Well, nothing is going to change. We're in America. And anybody that studies the Word and also the books of the Bible that they took out, these things were foretold what would happen to the royal family. So, you know, over here, I'm not going to entertain what I continue to see in this war. The enemy is very blatant and very disrespectful. Now they want to run up here and, you know, and talk about how appalling this is and all this shit. And we all know this been going on. I'm repeating myself. Stop insulting our intelligence. So as we go on this journey, my royal family, now we're going to see some things that we are truly familiar with. And again, the enemy is asking something of us, even the enemy's supporters. Do anybody know what that is? If you do, put it in the comment box. I'll tell you in the end. So, let's go back here and focus on this pig. So I'm gonna get my other computer here, and I'm going to read It's a lengthy article, and I've read over a few times, and I'm not going to read every single thing in here and drag it out. That's why we have bloggers, because we can get out the unquote juicy parts. So anyhow, now they're saying here they're calling for a national reform. That's just nothing but a knee-jerk reaction, and ain't nothing gonna change. Biden not gonna sign nothing or anything. We are not a protective class here in America. So they were saying the fallout from the deadly police beating of Mr. Nichols includes a 6 Memphis officer removed from duties as calls mount for criminal charges against more officers. Pay attention to language. He was removed from duties. Officer Preston Hemphill was part of the force. A source familiar with his assignment confirmed to CNN he was relieved of duty with the other officers. All right? Okay. Hemphill was put on leave. Pay attention to this one. He was put on leave at the start of the investigation into the brutal traffic stop, which was on January 7th. Again, he was put on leave at the start, said police spokesperson Kimberly Elder, who declined to say whether he's being paid or any other officers were put on leave, because we know what time it is when they unquote firing them, or they're unquote putting them on leave. It's a paid vacation. But we ain't hearing their unions, the fraternal order, the KKK. Okay, as we continue on with this article. Now pay attention to this. Hemphill was the third officer at the initial stop of Nichols. The officer's attorney said nothing. Noting he was never present at the second scene and is cooperating with the investigation. Hemphill activated his body-worn camera per department policies, and his footage was among the videos released Friday by Memphis police. Okay, well, we know one thing. They know how to manipulate them cameras. They can be beating your ass, because I just seen a video recently where they know how to turn their body a certain way to get some in. We already know what went down with Mr. Nichols. This ain't the first time. They out there terrorizing the black community only, because they know they can't get away with it in masses community. They know what they're doing. So let me see here. Okay, so we know that the chief of police has set up the Scorpion unit, and that has been disbanded because the community has been complaining how it's the Wild Wild West out there and what they doing. So trust and believe. The chief of police know what's going on in them streets. And the reason why she is in the position that she is in, because she demonstrated to the enemy that she is willing to hang and slaughter her own. Can you imagine what she had to do to get in that position? Oh, I got a juicy photo to show y'all of her. I'm milking it, my royal family. But y'all deserve the best, and I want to be as thorough as possible. So as we continue on, they said here, whether Hemphill or others will face criminal charges also isn't clear. We are looking at all of the officers and first responders at the scenes of Shelby County District Attorney Office spokesperson Erica Williams said Monday. They could face charges or they could not, but we are looking at everyone. Okay, this is a DA speaking. And when they are investigating themselves, They are looking at certain things to get up out of it. See, there's a bunch of shit going on behind the scenes. You know, they operating like they usually do, greasy. So, then they want to talk about how unprecedented it is that these indictment charges came down within just weeks and all of that. Yeah, now they know how to execute the law. But I feel nothing for these so-called brothers. You know, you put yourself in that position and don't respect the community. There's not one iota report on them in any other community but ours, how they getting down. Because they know the ins and outs of the community, you know. And then when we file stuff, you know, we're delusional and making it up as we go, you know. And then when one of these folks get a nigga moment, then they want some therapy from us. You on your own. So, as we continue on, okay, so they further talking about here in this article about disbanding the Scorpio unit. And then somebody was saying here, another DA, there is a reckoning coming for the police department and for the leadership. Yeah, they talking about firing the police chief too as well. But that doesn't change anything. They make all these movements and these unquote symbolism. That's a form of symbolism too as well. And that's supposed to satisfy our psyche. They keep insulting us, you know. So, okay, now this is the one that really gets me. The Congressional Black Caucus has asked for a meeting with President Joe Biden this week to push for negotiations on police reform. The Black Caucus, a do nothing. All they do is collect checks and do what massa tell them to do. See, people will launch their political careers off of these type of tragedies. And then, you know, cash us out and tell us to shut the hell up. They already got the parents scripted, saying, you know, got to keep the peace and don't want nobody to tear up nothing or anything. And you and I know before this year is out, we're going to see some more cops continuing to do this. But again, we are in the age of exposure. So, let me see here in this article here. Okay, they're talking about the traffic stop here and how all that went down, which we seen, and pepper sprayed and beat. And then they were saying here he was left slumped to the ground in handcuffs. Another 23 minutes passed before a stretcher arrived at the scene. Nichols was hospitalized and died 3 days later. Bless his heart. And let's see here. Okay. They just talking about he was an avid skateboarder, which we know, and he has a 4-year-old son that he was very close to. And these pigs and possible others are expected to be arraigned February 17th. 17 in the word means overcoming the enemy in a complete victory. Y'all hear me say that often. I can't make these things up. So here, check this out. The Memphis Police Association, the union representing them, declined to comment on the termination beyond saying that the city of Memphis and the Nichols family deserve to know the complete account of the events leading up to his death and what may have contributed to it, according to a statement. It's in plain sight. They beat the dog shit out of him. The part that got me is when they held him up and he took that metal baton and knocked the hell out of him, stomping and kicking and all that stuff. And then and you notice all of them just fat and bloated and out of shape and stuff, you know, but they all got to, you know, get one in. Because people have been questioning, the media has, we know what's going on. Well, why did all these other cop cars coming through? Because folks want to get a free one, you know. Oh, we got a nigga over there. He don't mean nothing to this world. You could tee off on him. Let all your aggressions out on him. Piss on him. You know, they do some foul stuff to us. This is not new. So basically, they are saying that each faces 7 counts, and which could including second-degree murder, aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping, bodily injury, aggravated kidnapping in possession of a deadly weapon, officials misconduct, and the officials basically oppressed this man and degraded him. So as we continue on here, let me make sure I got everything covered in this particular article. Okay. Now they said that Scorpio unit was launched in 2001. And people are coming forth talking about how they was getting down rogue in the community. And the police, again, and those so-called high officials, they know what was going on. As long as it don't affect their immediate situation, now it's affecting their immediate situation, you know. So, let me get over here to this next one. Now they're saying here, this next article in Memphis, a 6th Memphis officer is off the force and 3 fire department workers are fired as new details emerge from the deadly police beating of Tyre Nichols. Okay. So, and this came in today. So they're just basically saying 2 other Memphis police were relieved of duty and 3 fire department workers are fired as new details emerge from the deadly police beating of Tyre Nichols. Oh yeah, everybody out there know what's going on. And when they work in that arena. So they saying a total of 7 Memphis police officers were relieved of duty the day after Nichols was beaten by officers and hospitalized. Okay. So, now, you see how little they mention Officer Preston Hemphill, you know, and, you know, like I said, I couldn't find it in the title yet, but it said earlier police officer Preston Hemphill as one of the officers who remains on administrative leave. And we know what administrative leave means. We're going to find out some more things about Hemphill. This is where those bonuses going to come through, them extra nuggets that the royal family deserve to hear. So the fallout for the deadly police beating of Mr. Nichols includes a 6th Memphis officer removed of his duties, demands for more criminal charges against officers, and calls for nationwide police reform. Whatever. Even if we did get it, it ain't going to change anything. They need to ADOS cut the check. Let's see. Okay, we already know that Hemphill had actually been on administrative leave since the beginning of the investigation. Memphis police spokesman, okay, yeah, she was talking about that one. Just make sure some of these things I might cross over, but I don't want to miss anything. So the body cam footage reveals Hemphill fired a taser at Nichols, and he made this statement: "One of them prongs hit the bastard." Now he's sitting up here looking like Doughboy, because all of them greasy. But let's look at his true self. Can you tell them apart? That's the question that I asked the royal family. Can you tell them apart? See, they deliberately put that image up there to make you feel like he's a wholesome, all-American cracker. And then you see here, he got on his sunglasses. He got a smirk on his face, like I'm running the world. You get no peace. You get no sleep. You get no rest. you get eternal damnation in hell. Messing with royalty. I've been saying this for a while. I don't care who it is. It's gonna be a cost. Suppressing us every millisecond. So we seeing his unquote true ass nature. Now I'm gonna hold off because it's a part that I don't want to read that y'all gonna actually hear on the video. So let's get into these this next video, and then these bonuses is gonna come. So let's check this out.
Release of that devastating body cam video now seen around the world showing Tyre Nichols' violent arrest leading to his death. That footage showing police brutally beating Nichols. He left the scene in an ambulance, but he died 3 days later. 5 former Memphis police officers face charges now, including second-degree murder. And 2 fire personnel and 2 sheriff's deputies are on leave amid that ongoing investigation into the attack. Memphis police also confirming now a 6th officer who is white also responded to the scene of that traffic stop. He has been relieved of duty. Police say he was let go when the other officers were fired, but we didn't learn about this additional officer until now. Here's his name, Preston Hemphill, and he has not been charged. In a statement from his lawyer, the lawyer says Hemphill is cooperating with the investigation. ABC News' Stephanie Ramos has more now from Memphis, and we continue to warn you the images are disturbing.
Growing fallout following the release of the disturbing video showing the traffic stop that turned deadly. A group of now former Memphis police officers seen beating and kicking 29-year-old Tyre Nichols. The 5 fired officers, all charged with second-degree murder, had been members of a specialized crime unit called the Scorpion Unit, formed in November of 2021 to patrol high-crime hotspots. Scorpion, now permanently disbanded.
This Scorpion Unit was designed to saturate under the guise of crime fighting, and what it wound up doing instead was creating a continual pattern and practice of bad behavior.
Widespread outrage over Nichols' death has been growing since Friday, when the city of Memphis released brutal police body camera footage and utility pole camera video from the January 7th incident. Body camera footage shows police stopping Nichols in his car and pulling him out. Nichols pleading his innocence. Officers tackling him to the ground. Nichols wrestling from their grasp and running away. Police catching up with Nichols at a second location roughly 7 minutes later. Nichols heard calling out for his mother. Her home about 100 yards from where he was beaten. 2 officers then seen holding Nichols down as a third kicks him. Less than a minute later, another comes in with a baton. During the encounter, officers issuing more than 70 commands to Nichols. The officers appearing to take more than 20 minutes after the beating ends before attempting any aid. Ambulances arriving about 2 minutes later. The badly beaten father of 1 died in the hospital 3 days after this encounter. So far, 2 Memphis fire personnel as well as 2 Shelby County Sheriff's deputies have been placed on leave pending investigations. Attorneys for 2 of the former officers, Desmond Mills Jr. and Emmett Martin, saying their clients intend to plead not guilty. Mills' attorney releasing a statement saying, "We are confident that the questions of whether Desmond crossed the lines that others crossed and whether he committed the crimes charged will be answered with a resounding no." ABC News reached out to the attorneys representing former officers Justin Smith to Darius Bean, but have not heard back. An attorney for Demetrius Haley declined to comment. Throughout the weekend, peaceful protests from coast to coast, calls for justice in Tyre's name. Meanwhile, Nichols' family asking that this is how he is remembered. The young man who loved photography and skateboarding. This video of Nichols doing what he loved with the sun shining around him has gone viral. And this photo, distributed by his family, showing him as a loving father, capturing the man described as kind and gentle.
Stephanie joining me live from Memphis now. So Stephanie, the response to this body cam footage, clearly it was felt across the nation, but you're still there in Memphis where it all happened. How are residents feeling about this story today?
Well, Kira, people here are still upset about what happened to Tyre Nichols, but there is a sense of relief in knowing that officers have been charged. As we just learned, another officer was relieved of duty. So this is still a very open investigation, and the people here recognize that. Over the weekend, there were protests, not only here in Memphis, but in other parts of the country. And we met with a woman who was marching in the protests here in Memphis. She was with her 3 young sons. And I have to share with you that she said she just wants her young boys to be able to grow up here. She said she couldn't really find the words to explain to them what exactly happened, but she just had to show them that video. And she said she wants her sons to be polite with police. She says she wants them to be good citizens, but it was really difficult for her to explain this to them, especially being born and raised here in Memphis. There's another man that we spoke to during that protest here, and he said he wanted to see that Scorpion unit disbanded. As we saw, that did happen, and that's the type of quick change, quick action that people here want to see.
So Stephanie, let me ask you about Preston Hemphill. Nichols' family, of course, is now questioning why that 6th officer, who happens to be white, was not charged. What more do we know about him and how the Memphis Police Department is treating his case?
Well, we still have so many questions about that. What we do know is that he was the 3rd officer at that initial stop. He was not, his attorney says that he was not at the 2nd location. And as you mentioned, he has been relieved of duty. So it's interesting. It seems as though the police department, the police chief, they're taking their time and trying to figure out exactly how to go about this particular situation, being that they haven't said that he is fired. So that's a process. I think this is going to be a very long process, given the amount of people that were there at the scene, the amount of officers that were there on that scene. You could see in that video there were a good amount, not just those 5 officers, but the attorney for Hemphill, he does say that Hemphill is cooperating with this investigation. So I'm sure we will learn more in the next few days, hopefully. Kira.
Yeah, we'll be talking a lot for sure. Stephanie, thank you so much.
All right. So.
But we do begin with the release of that
So we know that Hemphill is going to sing like a canary, because he's part of that Scorpio unit too, and they was all out there teeing off. He gonna do a deal with the DA. So, when they talking about figuring out what to do, no, they do what they do to protect their own. And they are the sacrificial lamb, but they put theyself in that situation, and they truly gonna get an unquote nigger moment. Now, in this whole thing, they all got their separate lawyers, so they all gonna be trying to save their ass at the end of the day. So it's gonna be a lot of dissension amongst this group, where at one time, they would laugh and joke about this, and you could tell they fat asses was always going somewhere to eat, getting a free meal someplace. So now they got some more stuff to deal with, and you'll see them lose a great deal of weight. And just pay attention to facial expressions, how they look over time, how this stuff is going to eat on their psyche. Oh yeah, at the end of the day. So my royal family, I said I had a bonus video. So they doing blase, protecting old Doughboy, and then I'm going to reveal his true nature. White cop who wanted colleagues to stump Mr. Nichols is suspended. Oh, really? Oh, my goodness. Well, let's listen to this audio.
Do you see dark stains on your roof or your neighbor's roof? Did you know these stains are blue-green algae that can spread from roof to roof? Protect your home with GAF Timberline HDZ shingles featuring time-release algae fighting technology with a 25-year limited warranty against algae discoloration. Get all the GAF products you need, including Timberline HDZ shingles at your local Home Depot. Click or tap the banner now to get started. Available only at
White cop who wanted colleagues to stomp Tyre Nichols is suspended. By Josh Fiallo. Relieved of duty. Ben Crump, the attorney representing the Nichols family, questioned why Preston Hemphill was shielded and protected from the public eye, and to date, from sufficient discipline. A white Memphis cop involved in the fatal arrest of Tyre Nichols, who was allegedly caught on body cam saying he hoped other officers would stomp his ass, has been relieved of duty, authorities said Monday. Memphis police told the Associated Press that Preston Hemphill, 26, was relieved of duty shortly after the January 7th traffic stop, but his name wasn't made public until Monday. He is the 6th Memphis officer to be punished for the traffic stop that led to a brutal beating and the eventual death of Nichols. Unlike the 5 black officers who were fired shortly after the incident, he is not facing murder charges. 3 EMTs, Robert Long, Jamichael Sandridge and Lieutenant Michelle Whitaker, were also fired Monday for their actions or inactions when called to render aid to Nichols, Memphis Fire and Rescue announced. Hemphill featured in a photo on the PD's Facebook page last July when he completed 40 hours of mental illness training to join the force's crisis intervention team. In a statement, Nichols' family attorney Ben Crump said it was Hemphill who violently pulled Nichols from his car while striking him with a taser during an initial traffic stop, something clearly captured by body cam footage released by authorities on Friday night. In another body cam clip, an officer, identified by Crump as Hemphill, is heard yelling, "I hope they stomp his ass," after Nichols escaped and ran from officers who were beating him. Crump said Nichols' family is disappointed by Hemphill's seemingly paltry punishment, saying he should have been fired and it shouldn't have taken 3 weeks for Memphis PD to release his name. It certainly begs the question why the white officer involved in this brutal attack was shielded and protected from the public eye, and to date, from sufficient discipline and accountability, Crump wrote in a statement. The Memphis Police Department owes us all answers. Memphis police have not confirmed if it was Hemphill who made the stomp comment or what specific actions led to him being relieved from duty. Multiple emails and calls to the department were not returned on Monday. Hemphill's lawyer, Lee Gerald, confirmed in a statement to the Daily Beast that his client was involved in the initial encounter with Nichols before he fled. He was never present at the second scene, Gerald said. He is cooperating with officials in this investigation. Gerald said Hemphill activated his body cam and his footage was video 1 inch in the series of 4 horrifying videos released Friday evening by Memphis officials. That clip, nearly 6 minutes long, appears to show Hemphill pin down Nichols while shouting commands at him. Warning. Graphic footage below. Parts of the video are obscured because Hemphill was too close to Nichols to record what was happening, but expletives were bleeped dozens of times in the clip. After a brief struggle, the video showed Hemphill unsuccessfully deploying his taser at Nichols as he breaks free and runs away. Hemphill is heard saying he can't see Jack S. because his glasses were knocked off in the struggle. He didn't pursue Nichols for long after he ran down the street, instead tending to a second officer who injured his eyes. 5 of Hemphill's former colleagues, Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, Emmett Martin III, Desmond Mills Jr., and Justin Smith, were fired shortly after Nichols' death and charged with second-degree murder, aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping, official misconduct, and official oppression. They were part of a specialized anti-crime unit that supposedly required additional training and mandatory experience minimums. Memphis Police Chief Saralyn Davis launched the unit, nicknamed Scorpion for street crimes operation to restore peace in our neighborhoods, a few months after taking the job in 2021 to get tough on tough people. She said then, the same month rapper Young Dolph was killed in the city. The unit was to act as a strike team in vulnerable parts of Memphis, which quickly drew criticism from residents who described its office's actions as heavy-handed, the New York Times reported. Davis has since axed the program entirely in light of Nichols' killing, which she described as heinous and inhumane. Hemphill joins 2 Shelby County deputies to be placed on leave over the beating. Fire officials in Memphis said an internal investigation found that those who responded to aid Nichols, Robert Long, Jamichael Sandridge and Lieutenant Michelle Whitaker, violated numerous policies and protocols, leading to their firing. Their actions or inactions on the scene that night do not meet the expectations of the Memphis Fire Department, the department said in a release, adding they're not reflective of the outstanding service the men and women of the Memphis Fire Department provide daily in our community.
Whatever. All this tells you at the end of the day, my royal family, which is not surprising to us, that all of them are complicit in this. They know what's going on in the streets of America, let alone in the unquote black communities. You know, no one was operating on a professional level. They just looked at him non-human, said he was on some drugs and everything. And Doughboy here, now we finding out he's the one that so far looking like he was the one that made the initial he was the initial aggressor, and he was hawking off commands to these coons here. This ain't the first time they did this, you know. But his lawyer wants to overemphasize, oh, he wasn't at the second one. He was at the first one. Well, it was damage done there too as well. You damaged him. You were just as complicit. And then all this personnel and all this stuff stand around and do nothing for 23 minutes. This ain't the first time. And do y'all know, and some of y'all know this, when our so-called own pull shit like this, the enemy does not respect you, because it shows that you're not willing to protect your own. I never ever had a problem with other races of people looking out for their own. I fully support nepotism when it comes to my own, and don't question me about anything. But see, on a continuous basis, these coons here wanted to demonstrate to one of many of the enemies. Basically, what I'm trying to say is they wanted to demonstrate to them, I'm in. They thought they was part of the good old boys network. Oh, they gonna find out. They gonna be shocked because they digging into their ass. And folks gonna sing like a canary. This is going to be epic. I can feel it coming. Just when you think something epic has happened in America, it tops that. And remember this, my royal family. We are good at what we do. We so damn good at what we do that we good at doing shit that's negative. We will outdo folks because we have always had that pressure on us that we had to perform at a very high standard. See, when you got peer pressure, you got negative peer pressure, and you got positive peer pressure, and you will meet those standards, whatever you decide to choose. So, I have a bonus photo. Check this out. This is the police chief. Look at her real close. And it shocked me when I seen this, and I went and looked at other pictures, and I could see it. I couldn't see it on the videos or the TV. Look at her face. See, that's her true nature. See how we're dealing with her? All the dirt she done did and the shit she done covered up. Look at her eyes. You know, she put herself together quite well. But she don't have good skin and pock marks in there. I don't care how much damn makeup you use. Look at her eyes. Look weary. Look old. Look like something ain't quite right at the end of the day. See, when you make that executive decision to join the enemy at doing anything nefarious to us, Yahweh gonna deal with you. And you don't know when it's gonna knock you on your ass. And she is wearing it all over her face. I don't give a damn how so-called she's transparent. She answered to massa. Remember that chief of police down there in Texas when Botham Jean got killed, how she instantly lied, how she instantly protected Amber the killer Geiger, at the end of the day, because she worried about butter biscuits and worried about her media situation. So when our folks had these positions, we already know that they don't have no damn power. So like Taryn Rain often say, I feel nothing. So there was a question that I asked the royal family, that there is something that the enemy and also the enemy supporters are asking of us. What they are asking of us, what is an acceptable way to beat your ass or the ultimate kill you? All the stuff in between. What is acceptable? Let's do the reform in such a way that they gonna put these little, in the black communities, little community on these boards, and then these Negroes' heads get blown up, and all they gonna give them is a gift card to some grocery store, and they start acting like they the enemy. I have done enough videos where our own will say, well, you didn't have to shoot my son there. You could have did him like this, or you could have hit him with that. No, you keep your hands off our royal bodies, period. But think about that, my royal family. Literally, this planet is asking something of us. How they want to continue to brutalize us, and it's acceptable. And they will spew it out of their mouths. I mean, the supporters that look like you and I. Like right now, they talking about reparations up here in San Francisco. And them coons is breaking their neck up there, talking about they disappointed and blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. It's disgraceful at the end of the day, my royal family. It's very draining and it's very daunting, you know. And all I can say in closing is that deal with your immediate situation, you know. Continue to lock up our rims together like a chain link. Continue to pray to Yahweh and Yahweh only, because it's already been foretold what's really going down literally on this planet. But we're talking about America, the things that an unquote so-called American citizen, we're supposed to, you know, be a protective class. Animals are more protected than the royal family. They disdain us because they know. We don't be parading up and down the street that we're chosen and stealing people's identity and all this kind of stuff. See, to keep this facade up, my royal family, it's like you're a guard and you got to guard someone 24/7. You're going to get tired. You're going to get tired. I keep saying it's a cost messing with royalty, and the ripple effects is being felt globally. Putting your hands, doing whatever you're doing to us nefarious behind the scenes, oppressing us, not giving to us what is owed to us. I said in the last video, here in America, our blood soaks in the soil of America. So, my royal family, do what you do best. Render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.